Колеги, ви благодарам.
Dear colleagues, thank you. Please take your seats.
Почитуван
Distinguished President of the Government of the Republic of North Macedonia, Mr. Dimitar Kovachevski, Distinguished Deputy Presidents and Ministers in the Government of the Republic of North Macedonia, Distinguished Deputy Ministers and representatives of the government sector and the NGOs, distinguished entrepreneurs, university professors, distinguished excellencies, distinguished guests. Welcome at this annual conference, A Year of New Opportunities, organized by the government of the Republic of North Macedonia. This past year was full of challenges on economic, social, energy, and political level. It was a year that required resolution to make bold and right decisions. One year during which our country made historic steps forward on international level. In the next 2 days, through several panel discussions, we'll have the opportunity to talk and to review what was done in the turbulent 2022 and to give new vision for 2023. 2022 was a year of 3 important dates that will remain in the Macedonian history. On July 19th, North Macedonia started the negotiations with the EU and had its first intergovernmental conference. On September 15th, we started the screening process on October 26, we signed the Frontex Agreement, the first document with our signature together with all the other 27 member states of the European Union in Macedonian language without any suffixes or footnotes. 2022 was a year when our efforts were confirmed, when our efforts for European future were confirmed. A year when we unblocked all processes. A year when we managed to fight for protection of the Macedonian language, the Macedonian identity. A year when it was confirmed that Macedonian language is protected and is on the same level with all other languages of the European Union. It was a year when we started the new chapter on our European path, a new chapter in reforms and transformation of the society, something that will help us to achieve our strategic objective, that is full-fledged membership into the European Union. Last year, immediately after the 2 long pandemic years, when the country just started recovering from the economic crisis, the terrible war in Ukraine started. The economic crisis deepened and we faced the energy crisis. It was a difficult year. It required fast and timely decisions and, of course, anti-crisis measures that supported the citizens and the economy for protection of the standard of living and the jobs. Dear guests, it is my honor and pleasure to invite the Prime Minister Dimitar Kovachevski to give his introductory remarks and to officially open this conference. He has 22 years of experience and he enabled for this difficult year to be seen as an opportunity to set the base for 2023 to be a year of new opportunities. You may take the floor. Distinguished citizens, distinguished guests at today's event, representatives from the institutions, from the international community, from the unions, business chambers, NGOs, distinguished members of the press, distinguished members of the assembly, dear guests. We can overcome any obstacle, we can tackle any challenge, and there is a solution to any problem. Only if we remain focused on priorities. And we will continue doing so. Ahead of us is a year of new opportunities, opportunities for which we have worked tirelessly and for which we created preconditions in the previous year. New steps ahead are possible and necessary for everyone in our homeland. We can have a dignified quality of life according to European standards. The Republic of North Macedonia can and should be part of today's Europe. With all of you together, I am ready to lead us on the single and chosen path up to our objective. The past 2022 was a year full of challenges in geopolitical context. Following the pandemic and the economic crisis, the year brought challenges that countries throughout the world did not imagine will fight in the 21st century. A war on the territory of a sovereign state, bringing risks to world peace, to secure food, to secure electricity, to maintain stability. A challenge to find solutions for the temptations brought by each day, but also to remain focused on perspectives, because the first one is important to us about our life today, but the second one is about how are we going to live tomorrow. The Republic of North Macedonia has always been on the right side of history. We chose the right side this time too, without any reservations on the line of EU's foreign policy, on the same line with the democratic world, because we're well aware of the value of peace. Only in peace can we feel safe and go ahead? In the year behind us, coinciding with the anniversary of the term of this government, we could have easily asked for justifications why something cannot be done. Or we could have been led by the premise how something can be done, how to work, how to improve, how to progress. And we chose the second way. For this past year of my term in office as a Prime Minister, I had the opportunity to meet many people from various surroundings. I spent a lot of time outside the office because I know that for most part, the people are the ones who hold the truth, the knowledge and the solutions. I see that there are many workers, farmers, teachers, doctors, owners of large companies and craftsmen and small enterprises who work very, very hard to secure their existence, the existence of their families and employees. And with the tax they are paying, they contribute to the progress and construction of their own country. Some of these people are here today, some will hear us through the media, and some might not hear us at all, being preoccupied with their work. But all of you are my motivation, my source of strength and faith that the path we're walking, the day and night efforts to provide for citizens' needs, to secure European future of the country with all blockages, objective or intentional, all of this is worthwhile. They are worthwhile because they lead to a glorious objective, well-being for all of us and our country. On Tuesday, on the last session of the government, I realized that we're completing the 121st session of the government, and I reflected on the first session of this government. It took place on January 17th last year. In usual circumstances, for a period of 12 months, a government would hold 48 sessions, one weekly. In exactly 1 year, we have held at least twice as many, plus 73, or a total of 121 government sessions. And this applies only to regular sessions. Each of the ministers at this 2-day conference will be given an opportunity to present to the citizens what they have done for the past year in their sectors. Being the president of the government, I would like to underline that in 2022, in terms of one of the greatest world crises following World War II, the government succeeded in protecting the existence and the standard of the citizens from the enormous increases in the price of food and electricity caused by the world economic crisis and energy crisis and the war in Ukraine. We increased the minimum salary, the average salary and pensions. We helped the companies to keep their employees. During 2022, a year of crisis for the whole world, we have new investments in the country and new jobs. We have the highest realization of capital investments on the highest level for the past since the independence of the country. But for the first time since the independence of our country, we adopted a set of systemic and strategic decisions and solutions that focus on strategic and sustainable domestic production of food and strategic domestic production of electricity, starting from the natural potentials of our country: fertile soil, sun, wind, and water. Using these strategic policies, we enable in the long term predictability in the development of the economy and independence of the country regarding access to food and energy. We set clear economic and European objectives, and in that regard, we will improve the development of the country. 2023 is a year of new opportunities because in 2022 we laid healthy foundations. I would mention in detail only some of them. We increased the minimum net salary in March 2022, and now it is 18,000 dinars per month. This is by 3,000 dinars higher minimum salary compared to April 2021, when the minimum salary was 15,000. Following the amendments to the law on minimum salary in 2023, according to the growth of the cost of living, the minimum salary will be about 20,200 dinars. Furthermore, we increased the average net salary, and in November 2022, it reached 33,000 dinars, according to the data of the State Statistical Office. It is by 4,000 dinars higher compared to the same month in 2021, when it was 29,000 dinars. The increase in the minimum salary will certainly impact the future increase of the average salary. In 2022, we increased the pensions and we achieved regular and early payments. In 2023, we have a new increase. About 330,000 retirees in our country already receive higher pensions starting from September last year. The pensions in 2022 increased by about 10%. This is a historic increase in pensions for a period of only 1 year. I said that we made short-term but also systemic measures. So in 2023, we'll have a new rise in pensions according to the new methodology for calculation that foresees harmonization of the pensions pursuant to the costs of life and increase of the average salary. In 1 calendar year following this increase, the growth of pensions would reach 16%. This systemic solution protects retirees. No one will ever use them again during elections because we guarantee the growth of pensions by law. Moreover, I would like to emphasize that the solutions for the pensions are adopted in cooperation with the Union of Retirees, just as the solutions for the salaries were made in cooperation with the unions and chambers. We also applied this inclusive way of work when we raised the salaries of all members of the defense, over 2,000 denars, in the police by a new 5%, of doctors by 5%. Thus, the basic salary of specialist doctors has increased by 40% in 4 years. To 25,000 teachers in primary and secondary schools by 15% of the judicial officers and officers in public prosecution and prison police by 15%. We have created conditions for an immediate and future increase in salaries in higher education. And we will have an inclusive approach for all other decisions that will follow in 2023, especially since there are important decisions. One of them is to ensure our European future. Let me proceed. In 2022, one of the gravest years in Europe and the world, the facts show that we have a record amount of foreign direct investments, 430 million euros in the technological industrial development zones. We opened 2,300 new jobs with salaries higher than the state average. In order to help the companies under the law on financial support of investments, in 2022 we paid out record assistance in the amount of 23 million euros to 410 companies, employing over 27,000 employees. Last year we signed 277 new agreements, the biggest number of signed agreements since the law was adopted. If we look into the capital investments in 2022, we achieved 90% of the planned capital projects, the highest percentage in the past 10 years, with a value of 465 million euros. And this is in the greatest crisis. For example, in transport, 44 expressways, highways, and regional roads are being rehabilitated. For most of them, the works are completed, and for some of them, the works are ongoing. At this moment, there is an active construction and reconstruction of highways in the length of 559 kilometers. With a view to education, we completed the construction of 3 schools and 3 more are in the phase of construction. We completed the reconstruction of 29 schools and we started the reconstruction of 21. As we announced, 118 schools will be reconstructed throughout the country. Moreover, we will start the reconstruction of the 9 state dormitories. In health, we made a procurement of high-end diagnostic machines for 14 public health institutions in cooperation with the World Bank. The installation is underway and the total value of the investment is 13.6 million euros. We have secured a new linear accelerator, a new machine for radiation therapy, a new MRI, a new CT scanner. At the same time, private doctors received a higher value of the capitation point from 63 to 74 denars, whereas the capitation for private dentists is now 61 denars per patient. When it comes to the environment, we cleared out the landfill in the Ohis factory of lignine isomers that have been a threat to people's health for years. Also, we are conducting about 40 projects in this sector. From the budget for 2022, we have secured funds in the amount of 3.2 million euros for water supply systems for several settlements in Lipkova And now for this year, additional €1 million for reconstruction upgrade of the collecting system and wastewater treatment station in Doiran. We ended 2022 with complete realization of the capital investments in the police, 78 fully reconstructed objects of the police, out of which 7 were done last year with a total value of more than €8 million. We modernized the army following NATO standards. There are several multi-annual capital projects, procurement of light armored vehicles from the United States of America, procurement of anti-aircraft defense equipment, for which an agreement has been signed with France, and agreements have also been concluded for the procurement of artillery systems in cooperation with Turkey, as well as for the overhaul of transport helicopters in cooperation with the Czech Republic. Within the framework of the commitments as an executive power, we have done everything that depends on us for efficient justice, according to the adopted laws, and 5 courts of first instance, specifically in Kavadarci, Strumica, Štip, and the Criminal and Civil Court in Skopje, are equipped with modern ICT equipment as part of the digitalization plan in the judiciary. And from November 2022, the largest digital courtroom in the country, in Idrisova, will be in operation. In conditions where all eyes are focused on the fight against crime and corruption as a challenge in national and regional frameworks, the space for excuses is narrowed when it comes to the efficient and professional behavior of competent authorities, and everyone must deliver results for what they are paid for by the citizens. To sum it up, the government cut the unproductive costs and in conditions of the largest world crisis is regularly servicing its obligations towards its citizens and towards the economy. In 2022, the return of VAT of value-added tax was more than €727 million, the highest return of value-added tax to the economy up until today. This additionally supports the liquidity and competitiveness of the companies and increases the return of value-added tax for the citizens, and now it will be $2,100 per trimester. With this thrifty and responsible way of working and focus on the needs of the citizens, we brought anti-crisis measures on time. The package of anti-crisis measures in the amount of over €760 million is rated as the largest state aid in the region, according to data from the European Bank. The last package of anti-crisis measures covers the socially vulnerable categories of citizens, mostly 35,000 recipients of guaranteed minimal assistance. As a support during the energy crisis, starting in April last year, we started subsidizing the market price of electricity, 80% of the real price for all households. Without these subsidies, the citizens would pay 5 times higher electricity bills. The measure applies to 72,000 micro, small, and medium companies on the regulated market that employ 98% of the employees in the country. We decided that the primary and high schools, the companies in the food industry, and public enterprises in the area of water supply may conclude agreements with the sum of sales to pay for cheaper electricity. For the first time in 70 years, we activated all disposable national energy capacities for domestic production of electricity. Furthermore, the citizens and the economy may use favorable conditions to set photovoltaics in a fast and efficient manner. Nobody expected in the most difficult month, January, instead of importing, we'll export energy. The renewable resources are reality in Europe, but at home we want to achieve European progress in a shorter time. That's why we started to create a green energy hub in Europe, because our country has the natural potential: sun, wind, and water. We have 280 sunny days throughout the year, and this is above the European average. The potential for construction of solar power plants and the general and complete production of energy from renewable sources is huge. And we as a government also focused on providing domestic energy. And in just 1 year, new power plants with over 152 megawatts of installed capacities for electricity production from renewable sources have been built in the country. Last year, the Energy Regulatory Commission issued 267 permits for production of green electricity. These investments have a significant contribution to the energy transformation and independence. These new power plants that produce electricity from solar, wind, water, and energy and biogas that were built in 1 year and are equal to the energy capacities that were built for years, such as Kozjak, Svetopitka, and Wind Park Bogdanci. With the facilities built in 2022, the needs of 65,700 households can be covered with an average electricity consumption. To know exactly and precisely, with the energy from renewable sources installed in 2022, the needs of households from 6 cities in the country can be met: Ohrid, Titovo, Kratovo, Kruševo, Kriva Palanka, and Sveti Nikola. Only in 1 year. This is how we contribute to the reduction of electricity prices, but also in opening thousands of new jobs for engineers and personnel from related activities and services in green tourism and organic farming. Most important thing of all is that the green transformation will enable our country to have national energy independence and will give us security for the predictable development of the economy. Specifically, by the end of this 2023, we expect around 300 megawatts of photovoltaic power plants to be installed in the Macedonian energy system through investments from the multilateral financial institutions and bilateral creditors. With what was installed last year, we'll have installed capacity from renewable energy sources equaling to the capacity that today has Reka Bitola. Also, within the framework of the commitment to protect the standard of living of the citizens, the government decided to limit the margin of basic food products to limit the growth of food prices. For the first time since the country's independence, this government also devoted itself to priorities in agriculture to ensure domestic food production. For this purpose, we adopted a national food production plan with which we encourage farmers to use every inch of arable land. This turned out to be the right decision because we already have increased wheat production, and together with the farmers, we created a new subsidy model with which, among other things, we direct the farmers which crops to produce according to the needs of the country. In 2022, we managed to completely clear all outstanding obligations to farmers, so that for the first time this 2023, the country starts with no outstanding obligations to the farmers. With the budget for 2023, we provided 250 million euros for anti-crisis measures, 1.2 billion euros for retirees, 57.5 million euros more for transfers for the municipalities, 63 million euros more for health services, and 800 million euros for capital expenditures. I could speak more about our achievements, but in the interest of time, I will stop here and respond to some comments. That's salaries, pensions, investments, and state support are growing. But what does that mean when there are also higher costs of life? For all those who receive state support, this really means something, because there was a great chance of not having this support, taking into consideration that in developed countries in the world, people are facing shutdowns of companies and massive layoffs. The achievements I mentioned happened also compared to years when the country did not face consequences of world economic crisis, but then money was wasted on styrofoam, willows, and palaces, and money went to Belize. Today, this money goes to the citizens. The facts prove this, and it would be good when someone decides whether and how much we progress as a country. To start from this, how to make comparison and what to compare, and how comparison should be done last year, this year, and with some years in the past. Dear citizens, I would like to point out a few more key details. Investors want safety and foreseeable climate for their investments. Both the investments and new jobs are a result of the bold and wise decision made when the Republic of North Macedonia became a NATO member. We ensured the safety of the country, and as I said, this step already contributes to the economy, and at a very specific time. The progress of the country will be additionally secured with European integrations and EU membership. In July last year, this government made new bold and wise decisions with which, after 17 years of being a candidate country, and thanks to the decision of the MPs in the Macedonian Assembly, we started negotiations with the Union. EU already transferred the first tranche of budget support for tackling the consequences of the world crisis, amounting to 80 million euros. And this is only one indicator of Europe's solidarity when speaking of dealing with crisis. And it shows what it means to be part of the great European family. It means support for development through European funds. It means greater market where companies can compete. It means development of economy. It means more jobs for the citizens and higher salaries. It means European standard. It means institutions that work following the European principles. It means European quality of life. It means Europe, but Europe here at home in North Macedonia. That is why in 2023 we will continue with the strategic approach and the numerous planned projects for which we opened new opportunities. However, the most important project for the future of the country and the citizens is the European project, for which we also opened opportunities, and this opens the way to efficient realization of all other projects. And that is why I appeal to responsible behavior for the future of all of us and of our country. We are in a phase of bilateral screening that is very successful and needs to be completed by the end of this year. Whether we will open the chapters within the negotiation process is something that depends on us. In 2023, we have the greatest opportunity so far to accelerate negotiations, and by 2030, the Republic of North Macedonia to become a member of the European Union. We started the negotiations with a fully protected Macedonian language and with it the Macedonian identity, and this is already crystal clear for everyone outside, and I hope for all well-wishers at home. The Macedonian language is recognized and accepted equally among European languages, and concrete proof of which is the already signed agreement with Frontex. The respect, appreciation, strengthening, and advancement of the Macedonian language and Macedonian identity depend mostly on ourselves here at home. Our history, tradition, and language that we have inherited from our ancestors and for which centuries of enormous sacrifice have been given, no one can ever take this away. We have our own Macedonian history, tradition, culture by which we are recognized as special people in a special country in Europe and in the world. Do we really need to debate this at home? Should we let our foundations be attacked from the outside, but also from the inside by individuals and structures who crave money and power, for whom nothing is sacred and everything is subject to money? Of course not. The government, me, and all citizens will be the single and joint bulwark of defense and guarantee of the unique Macedonian identity. In our country, we have equal citizens, Albanians, Turks, Serbs, Slovaks, Romas, Bosniaks, and others with whom we're successfully building one society for all, and this makes us special and makes us an example for cohabitation, something that's practiced by the people who are part of the European Union. If I need to talk about the relations with the Republic of Bulgaria, I will, because there is nothing that should be avoided here. We are committed to good neighborly relations in the spirit of the European values. North Macedonia guarantees and enables all citizens and all people who live here on this land and who consider this country their home to freely practice their rights. We have proven this on many occasions. We take pride in our multicultural society. We are proud that we are a little Europe. This was, is, and will be. Another issue is that they are preparing for new parliamentary elections there, and that, like everyone, there are individuals who try to gain visibility and voice through nationalist and populist rhetoric. There are probably also attempts to harm not only the bilateral relations, but also the unity in Europe, with which the war in Ukraine has particularly pointed to, and which should be ensured through the further expansion of the Union. That is why everyone will mind their own business. Our job is to protect the national identity, stability, and security of the country and to enable progress. We are already doing that. And while we are sacred guardians of the past, we'll also not let anyone endanger our European agenda and our well-deserved European future. In 2023, I expect a new step ahead toward the European integrations. I believe that we can reach a European parliamentarian majority that will ensure the European perspectives. I make this assessment based on the fact that large majority of the citizens in our country at the last parliamentary elections gave their trust to pro-European political entities that composed a pro-European government. And this pro-European government led by me will continue to work according to the expectations of the majority of citizens in the European way of life at home and integration into the European Union. The strategic objectives set since the independence of the country and the chances for EU membership have never been greater and more realistic than today. And that is why this year will test the maturity of all political leaders and members of the parliament. We are a multi-ethnic civic state, successful functional democracy, and an example for the region in Europe. And by adding another ethnic communities in the constitution, we'll lose nothing. I speak openly of the challenges in 2023 because we need smart decisions. Yes, it is difficult to make reasonable decisions in times of unreasonable provocations. If we lower the level, if we succumb to these provocations, then we lose. We'll let the populists and people without values, morals, and ethics win. We left space for the Macedonian enemies. And we, dear citizens, all of us, cannot and should not waste time for defeats and standing still. We must, we want, and it is necessary to work on everyday victories, optimism, reason, and positive expectations, both for today and for tomorrow. And that is why our state and national victory, dear citizens, depends only on us. I understand the caution and the doubts. I too have a family that lives here and loves its homeland. But I cannot and will not accept someone to make a political profit at the account of the perspectives of the citizens and the country. As I said, I spent most of the year among you, the citizens, and I heard your needs. And you do not need constant early elections, political games, blockages of the assembly, life spent in crisis, in pessimism and desperation. No. Our citizens, the people, have realistic and justified expectations for enhancement of the quality of life here at home in our country. The citizens want stability, order, progress, and solutions. They want real and better life. This can be achieved. The Republic of North Macedonia will continue on its European path with the reforms needed in all areas and will become a full-fledged member of the EU. This is an irreversible process. It is a question of time and it depends on us. We say faster, better, and together. Great achievements require great decisions. And that is why I want to call all of you to unite around the new opportunities brought by 2023. Thank you.
Ви благодарам.
Thank you, Mr. Kovachevski. Dear guests, I'm inviting you, all of us together, to view the video in continuation, which marks the breakdown of government measures and developments in the course of 2022. Increased salaries in education, army, police, and judiciary, recordly increased pensions, new 75 kindergartens, 660 million euro, 3,000 dinars for more than 35,000 beneficiaries, up to 80% of subsidies for electricity, privileged electricity, new 27 megawatts installation capacities, simplified procedures, and modified rulebook. We've secured heating and electricity, new 23,000 better paid jobs, 23 million euro, signed 277 agreements, new loan budgets to increase budget, a new fair system, increased fiscal decentralization, the highest implementation of capital investment, 456 million euro, new budget for 2023, 800 million euro, more than 124 discovered crimes, 2.4 tons of drugs, seized 78 reconstructed police facilities, digital transformation of society, better public services for citizens, a plan for national electronic identity, digitalization of courtrooms, new legislation in the interest of citizens. North Macedonia, a country after NATO, reconstructed, renovated, and modernized 15 military facilities, secured 6 new light vehicles, procurement of artillery, general haul of some additional armament, a new system for subsidizing of farming, record 97% of utilization of the EPAT program, increased support for small and medium-sized enterprises, 3 new schools constructed, reconstructed 29 schools, reconstructions of, initiated of 2 schools and 6 gyms, 264 primary schools supported, new scholarships of students, most modern diagnostic facilities for the healthcare, new device for radiation, new computer tomography device, first transplantation of liver, cleared linden, altogether dug out and exported 960 tons of waste, signed an agreement to return 20 illegally taken artifacts, increased number of digital services for the citizens, pilot projects for reorganization and optimization, local diaspora centers established, more than 1,300 kilometers of roads, beginning of the railroad construction, rehabilitated 130 locations, funds for new airlines secured, 888 kilometers gasification, negotiations started with the EU, adopted negotiation structure, started and successfully managed process, an agreement signed, strategic dialogue with USA. A year of new opportunities.
Ќе се согласите.
You will agree the list of developments and activities is longer, whose management and implementation is a challenge per se.